Welcome to the program. I'm Roby Brock. A week before the primary elections of 2012, and the buzz was centered on the 2014 race for governor. Congressman Mike Ross, widely expected to compete for the Democratic nomination for Arkansas governor in 2014, said this week that he won't be a candidate. Ross said he, quote, enjoyed getting back to a more normal way of life after 22 years of elective office, end quote. He said he'd come to the realization that there is life after politics. There's also money. Ross will take a lucrative post as Senior Vice President for Government Affairs and Public Relations with Little Rock-based Southwest Power Pool, which coordinates electricity transmission across a 9-state footprint. I caught up with the indefatigable Rex Nelson, former political editor for the Democrat Gazette, former communications director for Governor Mike Huckabee, and current Political Animals Club president. All right, what do you make of the Ross announcement? I mean, he said there is life after politics. Seriously, is there life after politics, Rex?
You know, I really tend to take Congressman Ross at his word on this one. I visited with him a couple of months ago when I was in Washington, D.C., and he struck me as tired of politics, tired of the game, kind of worn down. I think a lot of us were taking for granted that he would run for governor in 2014, and when I said something about it, he said, well, I don't know about that. I think the years in Congress, going from the majority to the minority, and then kind of maybe being out of the mainstream of your own leadership, since he's certainly more conservative than the Democratic Party leadership, has taken its toll. It was going to be a tough race for governor anyway. I think he's tired. I take him at his word. I think he's looking forward to getting out of the game.
Now, you're going to have to be careful in how you phrase your answer since you're the president of the Central Arkansas Political Animals Club, but politics is really not as glamorous as it used to be, is it?
No, it's not nearly as fun as it used to be. I mean, even a mere quarter of a century ago, I'm getting old enough now, I can say a mere 25 years ago, but when I lived in Washington and covered it for the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, you still had some of that old, we'll argue on the floor, but we'll go to dinner with each other afterwards. We will sit at ball games where our kids play in the same little league at night. Now people don't live there. They're on planes going up, coming home every weekend. They don't know each other. They don't socialize each other. They really don't like each other. It is not nearly as fun, not as good a job as it used to be, and I think the country is weaker for that.
All right, Ross's departure makes Attorney General Dustin McDaniel the presumptive front-runner at this point for the Democrats, at least in my estimation. Others are likely to explore the race, such as former Lieutenant Governor Bill Halter, businessman, Highway Commissioner John Burkhalter, maybe some others do get in. Does Ross's out make McDaniel an even bigger target for GOP scrutiny?
Oh, I think he will be targeted by the GOP. I think they'll watch his every move as Attorney General these next 2 years. But I don't think his nomination is a sure thing by any means. I mean, somebody like a Burkhalter, a millionaire businessman, can put a lot of his own money into the race. Look, we are a true two-party state in the first time of any of our lifetimes. And also, this is the first governor's race since 1966 without either an incumbent or a clearly defined favorite going into the race. So given that, I think we're going to see 4 or 5 people, both in the Democratic primary and in the Republican primary. I'm one of those that still think right now it's wide open. It's going to be fun to watch in 2014.
All right, well, you're on my next topic here. Does Ross's exit change the dynamic on the Republican front in the 2014 governor's race?
Oh, I think, again, you're going to see 4 or 5 on either side. I could possibly see, if he's reelected, which he should be in that district, Congressman Womack from up in the 3rd District, possibly see him running for governor. Lieutenant Governor Mark Darr could run for governor. One of the old war horses, if you will, an Asa Hutchinson or a Jim Keat could enter that race. There could be some businessman come out. Let's say that a successful businessman like a Mike Aiken is elected this year to the state Senate, makes a name for himself, can put money in. Again, I think you're looking at crowded fields, Roby, on both the Republican side and the Democratic side in 2014.
And Rex, what does it say about the 2012 election cycle that we're already pretty consumed with the 2014 cycle already?
Well, it says about the 2012 cycle that we have a pretty good feeling what's going to happen. I think a lot of people are always saying, well, the 4th District in Congress is going to go Republican. The 3rd District and 2nd District will stay Republican. 1st District could be a little more competitive, whether that stays Republican or not. But I think a lot of observers think they have a good feel for what's happening in the House races. We don't have a Senate race this year, and of course we have none of the 7 constitutional officers up this year.
Care to make any more political predictions for this year while I got you on the hot seat?
Well, again, I think going into the fall, probably the best of your races is going to be the 1st Congressional District race. Republicans having won that one for the first time 2 years ago, seeing whether they can hang on to that seat in East Arkansas or not. That's going to be your race to watch in the fall.
And I'd argue that the big competition this year will be for control of the State House and the State Senate.
Oh, Republicans have a chance to take control of one or both houses of the Arkansas legislature for the first time since Reconstruction. They're in striking distance now. That also is going to be very interesting to watch.
Yeah, and I got to think that your former employer, former Governor Mike Huckabee, would love to have had that circumstance.
Of course, he worked with a very heavily Democratic legislature. You and I grew up in this state with a very heavily Democratic legislature. Just the margins now, 54-46 Democratic in the House, 20-15 in the Senate. Even that's hard for me to believe. I don't know if I can comprehend the possibility of Republicans holding majorities, but that is certainly a possibility after the November elections.